Your weekend is not complete without the First Lady of New York Radio. It's the Joan Hamburg Show. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Okay, everyone. Cousin Brucey is on the go again. Cousin Brucey's always on the go. That's Bruce Morrow's nickname. And Cousin Brucey is a household word, a famous radio personality. And he was, and he still is, one of the best DJs that we have in this country. And in the beginning of rock and roll, there he was, one of the great personalities in this crazy business that we're all in. And he actually represented the music industry in so many ways. I remember my own kids saying, "Don't mess with him. He's what we've got left. You're going to take away all the good music and all the stuff we love." I said, "No, don't you worry about it." So Cousin Brucey is a New York guy, a Brooklyn guy, and everyone in and out of our industry knows him. Our industry has changed a lot, right, Brucey?
Oh, yes. First of all, so good to be with you. You know, you look wonderful, you sound wonderful, and I love you.
Thank you. We need all the love we can get.
Yes. But to answer that question, the music industry has changed 840 degrees since you and I started this thing. All right?
That's for sure.
Amazing. I mean, today I go on the air on WABC and I'm reaching the Philippines. I'm reaching Tokyo.
Everywhere.
You know, funny, Joe, I get these emails that say, "Cousin Brucey, we love your morning show." And I said, "Morning show? I never did a morning show." And then they explain, "We're listening in Tokyo."
Oh, my gosh.
Is that amazing?
Yeah.
Joe, look what we've done. Look what has happened, what you and I have experienced over all these years.
I know. And when you look back, and you don't have to really look back that far, and you think of the things you've done, the Beatles, I mean, who knew about that band? And you did it.
Well, I was watching them, very honestly, I was watching them for quite some time when they were causing all kinds of literally riots in Sweden and Germany and all over the European continent. And we knew something was going on. And Joan, I think I've talked to you about this several times. We needed something desperately here in the U.S., right? And it was happening over there with a group called the Beatles.
Right.
And we needed something to give us a little shot, a little kick in the tush, right? That we needed so desperately with rock and roll and with broadcasting of the music industry. And it was happening over there, and it was wonderful. And it was just starting.
That's right. And I still, of course, many of us remember when it started to happen. And who knew that it was going to change music, it was going to change America and change the lives of a lot of people. Now, were you involved as you were coming of age with the Bernstein family?
No, actually, no. This is kind of interesting with the Bernsteins. I never met. Well, I met Lenny a couple times at parties. Just basically,
through.
We never really became dear friends, and he never invited me to sing or perform at his symphony orchestras. But Jamie, Jody, and I read the book, her new book, which Maestro was based on, and that's been my limitation. But she said she wouldn't go through a day without listening to Cousin Brucey. So she knew me from, just like, people listening on the air. So that's our history together. And talking to her on the phone, having little meetings before this February the 5th event.
Well, yeah, explain. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. But anyway, I'm looking forward to being with her. She is a wonderful writer and a very talented musician. And a sweet person, and she listened to the radio. She loved us, Joan.
That's great. I know. We have to really look hard because the radio has changed too, but it's okay. We're still there, and people are still tuning in, and it's still part of what we have done and what we continue doing.
Well, it's called communicating, and I called it my date night. on my WABC show, it's a date night. Yeah, it continues and it grows, and we get generations after generations. You know why? Because it's good, and it's natural, and it's sensitive, and what I said, the word communication, there's a connection. And Joan, you have always had that connection. You've always, I think you might have been one of the people who invented connection radio.
Well, no, but you and I understood that we have to love our audiences if we want them to love us and love music. It's true, but I bet you got a big kick out of working with Jamie, the Bernstein daughter, who grew up with this sound in her head, played with her dad, played Beatles music.
You know, the idea of Jamie and Lenny Bernstein listening to Cousin Brucey and rocking and rolling and knowing all the music and loving the Beatles turns me on. It gets me very, very excited. You know, we've had, you and I have both been involved with a lot of big celebrities, the very biggest in our business. But the idea of Lenny Bernstein listening to Cousin Brucey at night turns me on.
I bet it should.
That was amazing.
No, it should. It's really exciting. And, you know, one of my friends, I sort of knew her whole family, Phyllis Newman, Adolph Green's wife. Mm-hmm. You know Phyllis. And she and the Bernsteins were very, very friendly. And on Sundays, they would have salons. And they would all gather around the piano, and they would sit on this little love seat. And finally, one day, Phyllis said, none of us have room for this love seat. Will you take it? It's Lenny Bernstein's piece of furniture. And that's where all these Sunday salons took place.
Amazing.
So
such amazing stories.
I have the love seat. And
you have it.
I have the love seat. The Adolph Green's kids didn't want it. Of course, the minute I had it reupholstered, they suddenly decided they wanted it. So I said they have to wait. It ultimately will be theirs, but we've got it now.
Well, do me a favor. Take your time and keep it for a long time.
No, and it brings incredible memories back.
But this thing started... there's an organization called the Village Trip. And what they do is they do achievements and they raise money and they take care of the greater village area in New York City.
Right.
So they've been after me to do a show. And I said, I will, but with COVID around, I just didn't want to get involved for a couple of years. So finally, they wore me down. And on February the 5th, coming up on a Monday evening, I think it's 7 o'clock at City Winery, at the Loft. We're going to be Jamie and I are going to be having a discussion about 60 years ago today, which is, Joni, a play on the words. It was 20 years ago today.
Right, exactly.
Sgt. Pepper, So 60, can you believe 60 years ago, these 4 mop tops, if you remember this, we called them, came into our lives, Joan, and changed, not only saved the music industry, I believe, but gave us a different sociological aspect. They changed the way we thought about wearing our hair, our coif, changed our dress, changed linguistics. Everybody suddenly, Joan was speaking the King's English. Hello, how are you, ducky? Everybody. So they had such great effect upon what has happened when they landed at Kennedy on Pan Am Flight 101. I'll never forget it. I was on the tarmac. And I was there broadcasting on an old-fashioned type broadcasting system. Was on, I think it was WINS. It was on, and in those days, and everything was about to change. Everything was changing, and it happened so quickly, really quickly.
Yeah,
people
spoke
the King's English very quickly.
Imagine this: the best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate, wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Oh my gosh. And do you remember when they first went on Ed Sullivan? And
Sure.
we were all like, because we all watched Ed Sullivan. And
Glued to
who are
the
these
tube.
kids? Who are they?
Yeah, that's why. Well, he didn't know. Very honestly, can I tell you something
Yeah.
secretly? Here's a secret. And it's not going to be a secret with you too long because I know you talk.
Yes.
Right?
As
He didn't
for
know who
you.
they were. He did not know who they were. Right?
That's really
he
funny.
he had to do some research and find out who the heck these Beatles are. And there's a whole bunch of funny stories. I was outside for matter of fact, for WABC broadcasting the Ed Sullivan thing outside his theater. I wasn't in the theater until a little later on. And I'll tell you, Joan, it was like New Year's Eve. That's what it felt like.
Oh, my
It was
gosh.
thousands of people. New Year's Eve. So they did so much to help our music industry, and they really made us smile again. You know, Joan, if you remember, you go back to those years. We're talking, 63, 64. We had a lot of problems. We had political problems. We had racial problems. The nation was not in good shape. The continents were not in good
what's
shape.
different,
but
right.
they came and made us smile. Right? They
It's
made us
true.
smile. They made us forget for a few moments that we were in deep, deep trouble.
No, and we were not, the band was not that, well known. It wasn't known to too many people. And you, Brucey, as I recall, were one of the main factors in saying to the country, hey, guys, listen, this is a whole new thing and it's going to be part of your world.
So, and it happened. I was not a genius. I was not taking chances. It was pretty obvious what was happening.
Yeah, but
just
you were
based on what was
smart.
happening in Europe. But it was pretty obvious. But the main thing, Joan, is that we needed something to boost our industry. Really, we were, as I said, very tired. Nothing was happening, and they came over and they gave us such excitement. Right? People were speaking. Here, I'll tell you a funny story. Just quick. I'll make this quick.
No, I like them.
This is fun. You'll love this. This is a fun story. I'm going to tell the story at the City Winery. I always love this story. It's an example of how they affected our lives. Right. One day I get a call. I take all these calls, for dedications and
Right.
requests, and I think I've even given you and your family a couple over the years. I get a call. Hey, Brucey. This is on the telephone. Hey, Brucey, this is Joey in the Bronx, Would you play a record for me, my girl? Play something by Elvis. Give me an Elvis song. Hey, Brucey, we love you here in the Bronx. Right. Now listen to this. The Beatles arrive. They come into Kennedy Airport, right? They arrive. They're there for 2 weeks. They've been a lot of hype, a lot of promotion, right? And 2 weeks later, the same guy gets on the air. Now listen to this, Joe. Hello? Is this Sir Brucey? This is Sir Joey of the Bronxshire in the New York State. Would you mind playing a record for me and my bird? I appreciate something by the Beatles. God bless the Queen. God bless you, Sir Brucey.
Oh, no.
That's the same guy.
Funny that you have more stories and more things that happened in everything.
Well,
Brucey too does movies, does everything.
Well, I've been very lucky. My career, I've been a very lucky guy. I have a great audience. I'm now back where I want to be.
Where
I
you
call
belong.
WABC my home. That's why it's where it all started, really. And I'm back there, and I've had great experiences on other magnificent broadcast facilities. And now as I said, I'm back home. So I feel I'm a very lucky, fortunate man that comes to work to play, I should say, that comes to play every time I go on the air, and I have the best time ever. And, that light goes on, it says, Brucey, you're on the air. I still get that feeling
thrill
in the pit of my stomach, how excited I am.
I know. It's a gift. And by the way, you want to go on February 5th to hear a conversation with Brucey and Jamie Bernstein and really become part of a legend and part of something that changed people's lives and still continues to change their lives. And it must have been a lot of fun and is a lot of fun to work with Jamie.
I'm looking forward to it. And we have a very interesting musical group called Black Rabbit. Black Rabbit, if you close your eyes, you think it was McCartney and Lennon singing. They were discovered in the subway. They're part of our subway system musicians, believe it or not. Joan, is a great story in itself. They call themselves Black Rabbit. So they'll be entertaining. They'll be opening the show, and I'm going to use them sometimes to illustrate what the Beatles did. But you close your eyes, you think that this tribute band, that's what they call them, was McCartney and Lennon. It's wild.
You're kidding. Are they twins?
Yes. Oh, you probably know more about it.
I don't
you
know
are
that
too much. You know everything.
No, but I know that at least I thought I knew that they were twins and that people knew them because they were the subway guys and they sang Beatles in the subways.
That's right. And the New York Times, what happened, how that broke loose, the New York Times said something like, I can paraphrase. They said, Black Rabbit's probably the best tribute Beatles band that's ever been. So that happened, and then they weren't in the subway. They didn't have time anymore. They were really sought after. So we got them for this particular event. It's going to be fun.
Well, and you certainly laid a very big footprint in rock and roll. When people were saying, oh, rock and roll, what is all this about? You just put your foot down and stayed there.
Oh, yeah. I didn't move. Well, I knew. And I knew that, this was going to last a long time. Did I know it was going to last this long? I'd be back at WABC? No. I'm not that smart.
Yeah, well, because it's hard to imagine. And the fact is, you're there, you're still having a great time and building audiences. And that's it's fantastic.
And with the new technology, like we said, we're all over the world now.
Yeah.
It's wild. So we get these new audiences, but we get audiences in Europe and Asia and South America. It's all over the place. Plus, of course, the United States national audience. So what a combination, and what a great experience that we are having, Joan. We are so fortunate that we're still doing it.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And enjoying every minute and bringing something to that enormous audience you're talking about.
Yep.
Who could have easily missed it. There's so much stuff going on, but you're saying, no, you're not missing it. You're going to be celebrating, whether
being
it's
part of it. I always believe the audience, and I think you know this secret, the audience has to be part of what we're doing.
Of course.
The transistors and the technical things and our support systems are great. But the most important part of what we do out there is called the audience. And that's what we have to remember, the audience.
And people are always asking, I'm sure you too, about radio. Who listens to radio? People will say to me. I say, who listens? Everyone listens. You can't get in a car without hearing radio or wherever you go. Walk on the street.
My favorite thing is?
What?
I know I'm taking baths and showers with people while I'm on the air. We are we're into everyone's personal lives.
Of course. And they have no say whether they like it or not.
That's right.
But next time I'll think about that and stay away from the cookies.
Choice Hotels gets you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Like with the road trippers we see here in their natural habitat, the breakfast area at a Comfort Inn. Here's a dad teaching his son how to make waffles, fluffy golden waffles. There's a mom making sure her daughter eats some fruit to avoid the I'm hungry from the back seat. And a sibling standoff over the last muffin. This is the cycle of vacation maximizationing in all its glory. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
All right, Brucey. I love hearing your voice. And don't forget, everyone, it's City Winery, February 5th, 7 o'clock. You're going to celebrate with Brucey and with great music and great fun. It's all part of our lives, and it's here to stay. Thank you, Brucey.
Thank you, Joni. Always so nice being with you. You're my old friend.
You too.
And I mean that with all due respect. When I say old, I mean I know you a long time.
Thank you. I'm glad you clarified.
You give me nice comfort, Joan.
All the best to you, my dear. We'll talk soon. Take care. All right, everyone. I'm Joan Hamburg, and you just had the pleasure. It's one of my great pleasures to talk to Cousin Brucey. And don't forget, February 5th, 7 o'clock, and it's a part of a City Winery. All kinds of good things going on. I'm Joan Hamburg, and you're listening to your favorite radio station, WABC.